Okay, so we're back, and here we are. This is the this is the short story outline. So this is the second installment for the study of the Cask of the Amontillado. And I'm going to take a moment out here to say, I'm very sorry that we're on Zoom, and I try to do it in the least painful way. And I think recording it is the best way to do it because then you can watch the tape at your leisure. And then I know that whatever it is that I'm supposed to tell you and impart to you, that you've got it, it's covered, because there is going to be a midterm exam, and God only knows what will be on the midterm exam. So we just have to be prepared. And not only that, but you are going to go on to 10th, 11th, and 12th grade at classical, and there are things you should know. And so I just want to make sure that we have a good understanding and appreciation of the Cask of the Amontillado. It's like Shakespearean plays. Once you've read one thoroughly, it segues you into the reading of other plays. Well, this is the same thing with once you've read one Edgar Allan Poe horror story, it segues you into reading the other rest of them. The Telltale Heart's another one that's very much like this, and The Mask of the Red Death, where it's like a really gruesome horror story with a lot of foreshadowing, a dark mood, a sustained tone of suspense. And also in the Telltale Heart, it's an unreliable first person madman narrator, also, just like in Cask of the Amontillado. So we've met Montessor. We've established that he's a madman. He's plotting the murder of his dear friend Fortunato. And he keeps, villainously laughing at how brilliant he is and how carefully he planned this out so he won't get caught. And he said that there's no point in going and getting revenge if you can't do it without being punished. So you don't want to be punished when you get revenge. So anyway, here is a short story plot outline. I just wanted to show you this because we're supposed to know the different parts. And the exposition is the introduction to characters, antagonist and protagonist, setting, time, place, and it should also be mood, and then the conflict. And so the conflict is actually within the mind of Fortunato. We never find out why Fortunato felt, pardon me, it's within the mind of Montessor. We never find out why Montessor thinks that Fortunato did him 1,000 injuries. He never says what the 1,000 injuries were, so they could all be in his like little peeny brain. But it's where he thinks he's been insulted and he has to get revenge on the insult. And so the internal conflict is him fighting himself, where he is plotting the perfect murder. External conflict is him going out to get Fortunato and murder him. The protagonist is actually the narrator. You don't always have to sympathize with the narrator, but he is definitely the main character in the story. And then the person who antagonized him was Fortunato, though Fortunato turns out to be completely innocent. The setting is like 200 years ago in Italy during carnival time, and the mood is dark and scary. And then so we've gotten the introduction, and then this thing did that on its own. But we had three events. The first event was we got the introduction to the author, the narrator. And the narrator, I'm sorry, he's not the author. The narrator is Montessor. We had an introduction to the narrator. And then we had this Pinterest. I don't like it because it kind of takes over your computer. It's like Microsoft, it gets into your computer. Anyway, first event is we get an introduction to Montessor talking about how he needs to get revenge. Second event is he talks about how he's going to go out, find Fortunato, and he's going to make Fortunato pay for the injuries he suffered, the insults that Fortunato's given him. And then, so he goes out to the carnival to get Fortunato. He meets up with Fortunato, tells Fortunato about how he has a cask of the Amontillado, and how he's going to have it tested to make sure it's good. And then he takes Fortunato back to his house so Fortunato can go down the catacombs with him. And he hands a scone or a torch to Fortunato, so they both are walking down deep into the catacombs down beneath the house, where there is a wine cellar and where the crypts where his ancestors are buried are there too. So they're going to walk down into the beneath the house with holding the torches, and he makes the author, pardon me, the narrator makes a comment that he knows none of the servants will be there, so there'll be no witnesses, because he told the servants not to leave the house because he wasn't going to be there all night, and they shouldn't go out to the carnival. And he said this would ensure that they would go out to the carnival. So that was verbal irony. So we got a really good introduction. I just wanted to show you this so that you, there'll be a point where he could turn back and not actually kill Fortunato. The dramatic climax will be when he's going to kill Fortunato. And will he kill Fortunato will be a happy ending if he decides that he doesn't need this revenge and that he's scared Fortunato and that's good enough, and be a sad ending if he actually murders his one of his good friends. So we have a climatic point will be whether he decides, when he decides whether or not he's actually going to kill Fortunato. So let's continue with the story. Let's continue with the story. I'm going to have the author that I had reading before continue reading. I think this is it. Let me see if this is it. That is not it. Okay. All right, that's not it. And this may be it. Okay. Yes, this is it. Okay, I put the, I don't want to have close-ups of my face on Zoom as much as possible, not. So that's why I put a little scrap of paper up here. Okay. So let me just make sure I did this right again, because if I make a mistake, I record the thing and it's like awful because there's a mistake. Everything's good. Okay, so we have it. All right, so here we go. I'm sorry it's taking a minute, but such is life, right? Okay. Okay, so here we go. I will.
I took from their sconces 2 torches, and giving one to Fortunato, bowed him through several suites of rooms to the archway that led into the vaults. I passed down a long and winding staircase, requesting him to be cautious as he followed. We came at length to the foot of the descent, and stood together on the damp ground of the catacombs of the Montresors. The gait of my friend was unsteady, and the bells upon his cap jingled as he strode. "The pipe," said he. "It is farther on," said I. "But observe the white webwork which gleams from these cavern walls." He turned towards me, and looked into my eyes with 2 filmy orbs that distilled the rheum of intoxication.
Guys, that is, I got to just point out, that's a really excellent example right there of imagery, right? So his eyes were 2 filmy orbs because he's got these, that means he's bleary-eyed from drinking.
"Mold?" he asked at length. "Mold?" I replied. "How long have you had that cough?" My poor friend found it impossible to reply for many minutes. "It is nothing," he said at last. "Come," I said with decision. "We will go back. Your health is precious. You are rich, respected, admired, beloved. You are happy as I once was. You are..."
Guys, I gotta just show you this because this is like too much verbal irony. He says your health is precious, right? He's about to kill him, right? And then also he says, well, you are rich, respected, admired, beloved, as I once was, right? See that? And what that is that's verbal irony because he's giving Fortunato a hint of the fact that he doesn't feel respected or loved anymore, right? Right? And if Fortunato wasn't like a little bit intoxicated, he might realize by what the man's saying that there's something wrong. But that right there, as I once was, that's like, shows that he thinks that he's not loved, admired, and respected anymore because of what Fortunato did.
And to be missed. For me, it is no matter. We will go back. You will be ill, and I cannot be responsible. Besides, there is Lucchesi. Enough! He said. The cough is a mere nothing. It will not kill me. I shall not die of a cough.
Aha! Another thing of verbal irony. I shall not die of a cough. So what shall he die of? All right, here we go.
True. True, I replied.
More verbal irony. Yes, you're not going to die of a cough. I'll make sure of that.
And indeed, I had no intention of alarming you unnecessarily, but you should use all proper caution. A draught of this Mayock will defend us from the damps. Here I knocked off the neck of a bottle, which I drew from a long row of its feathers that lay upon the mold.
All right, so he opens a bottle of liquor and says, here, take a drink of this. This will cure your cough, right? So he's giving a little bit more liquor to keep him intoxicated.
Drink, I said, presenting him the wine. He raised it to his lips with a leer. He paused and nodded to me familiarly while his bells jingled. I drink, he said, to the bed that repose around us, and I to your long life.
Again, verbal irony. I'm drinking to your long life just as I'm about to kill you. And he says, I'm drinking to your ancestors who are buried here about us. Repose means like sleep, place of rest. So they're walking through the crypt, and his ancestors are laying there dead, and he's drinking a toast to them.
He again took my arm, and we proceeded. These walls, he said, are extensive. The Montresors, I replied, were a great and numerous family. I forget your arms.
Now, when I used to teach this in 7th grade, I used to have the kids draw and create their own coat of arms, which was a lot of fun. You could do this, like, pretend to create a coat of arms for your family. And so he says, oh, the coat of arms of your family. When they used to go to war, you know what? I'm gonna take a brief moment here and show you something. All right. What I'm going to show you is some coat of arms, just so you know what coats of arms look like. So see, these are coats of arms. And literally, when people went to battle, they used to have a shield, and on the shield would be your coat of arms. And see, this might be like see that? 2 eagle heads, right, with the claws, right? See this? This could be a coat of arms right here, 2 men addressing each other. So I used to have the kids make their own coat of arms. See this? A fish, a tree, fish, and I don't know what that is. Please don't say it's a mask, a coronavirus mask on your coat of arms. See this? A bull on your coat of arms, a bull image. See stars and a yeah. So anyway, old families would have a coat of arms, and when you went to battle, you could recognize, who's fighting for what family belonged to. And when you went into somebody's house, usually up above their, castle door, there would be their coat of arms. So the coat of arms for landed gentry families were very common. Okay. Again, I'm going to pause. Okay. So let's go back into the analysis of what we just read. So I'm going back into Genius just so I can, without going ahead too fast. So, okay, so here is the gait of my friend was unsteady, and his bales of his cat jingle as we strode. And then he says the pipe, and he's referring to the cask of the Amontillado, right? See, that means a long cask. Where is it? It's further on. And then he says, but see how the walls gleam, and that's the nitrate, right? Nitrate, he asked at length, right? Nitrate is the name for potassium nitrate, which is white. And see that? It would like shine on the walls. Yes. So they continue on down, and he's very intoxicated. Oh, you have a cough. Yes, don't worry about my cough. Oh, my poor friend. Again, verbal irony. Somebody should say here, verbal irony, right? Oh, sheer sarcasm. Montessor is not really caring about his health. Come. I said, your health is too important, right? You're respected as I once was, right? So Montessor still has absolutely no, pardon me, Fortunato still has no clue that Montessor is planning this. And this is Montessor plotting his murder and saying, oh, I'm so worried about your health, right? And then he says, enough, the cough won't kill me. And this is ironic in the fact that he's walking down and he's about to be killed by Montessor. True, I replied. And then he brings out a type of wine, right, to take a couple of slugs of, right? So they take a quick drink while they're downstairs. Drink, I said, right? So he encourages them to drink so that, again, when you're drunk, you're literally in a form of disability, you're disabled, and he is making him continue drink or having him continue drink so it can continue to keep him impaired. So then his bells jingle. To your long life. Again, he takes my arm and proceeds. They go down to the vaults. Yes, my family's great. Well, I forgot your coat of arms, right? And then he says, a human foot, right? A field of azure, and a foot that crushes a serpent. So this is what the Montessor coat of arms would look like, right? The foot crushing a snake that bites it describes Montessor and Fortunato's predicament. Montessor feels that Fortunato wronged him, like he's a viper that bit him, and was hiding in the grass and came and got him. So that's the coat of arms of Montessor, and that's what he describes is here. And what's the motto on your, see this, here's the motto, right? And what's your motto? And the motto, right, translates into no one attacks me with impunity. So if the viper like bit him as he was walking, right, the snake doesn't get away with it. Oh, that's a good one, he says. The wine sparkles in his bells jingle. My own fancy grew with the Medic. We had passed through the walls of piled bones and casts and puncheons intertwining. So they're getting deeper and deeper down into the catacombs. It's fascinating that anyone would think would allow themselves to be led down through deep bowels of the catacombs just to retrieve some wine. I don't know if you're a real connoisseur of wines, right? And not only that, this is supposed to be your good friend. And he's also inebriated, so his judgment's off. The nitrate, I said, see how it increases. We are below the river's bed. So it's like a tunnel that continues on and on from the basement of his house. Come. Maybe with that cough, we should turn back before it's too late. And he says, it's nothing. Let us go on, right? But first, give me another gulp of the drink. So you can start seeing the downfall of Fortunato. The wine has gotten him more intoxicated, and now he's deep down into the catacomb, and nobody knows he's down there. I broke and reached for him a flagon of the grave, and he emptied it with one breath. So then he drinks more wine, right? So he's getting more and more drunk, having more and more impaired judgment. His eyes flashed with fierce light. He laughed and threw the bottle upwards with gesticulation. I could not understand. I looked at him in surprise. He repeated a movement, a grotesque one. You do not comprehend? He said, no, I don't. He says, then you're not of the Brotherhood. And he goes, so he made some kind of a weird gesture. And Montessor is looking at him going, what do you mean? What was that all about? And he goes, you don't know the Brotherhood? You don't know my gesture? He says, how? And he goes, you're not of the Masons. Now, there are, let's see, nobody put okay, here it is. There are religious groups affiliated, like it's the Knights of Columbus is affiliated with the Catholics. And guys, if you ever watch, there's a movie all about the Masons and how in America there are deep secrets hidden. Like, why is there a triangle with an eyeball on it on our dollar bill? And it's got something to do with the Masons. and they were men's clubs, exclusively men's clubs, and they were affiliated with the Protestant religion, and they had secret like handshakes and secret gestures, and they were like a secret club that you could belong to. And National Treasure is the name of the movie. It's with Nicolas Cage. It's actually a really intelligent movie. It's made by Disney. And it's about the Masons and how what they did, like Benjamin Franklin at the beginning of America. So he says, "Oh, aren't you a Mason?" And Fortunato is showing his haughty spirit by putting Montessori down, saying, "Oh, how is it you don't know about the Freemasons?" So this is one of the insults that Montessori talks about, like, how do you not know about the Masons? And so he goes, "Oh, I thought you were a Mason." "A Mason," I replied. He said, "A sign, right?" And so then Montessori from behind his underneath his cape pulls out a trowel, right? And this is a trowel, right? And this is actually a pun, because a Mason can be a Freemason person who belongs to the private secretive fraternity that's affiliated with a Protestant church, or a Mason can be a tool used by a stoneworker, and this is the tool used by a stoneworker. And so why would Montessori have a trowel underneath his cape? Why is he carrying it, right? "You, a Mason? Impossible." "A Mason," I replied. "A sign," he says, right? And so he says, "I don't believe you're actually a Mason." And then he pulls out the trowel. "Here it is," right? And then because it was a pun, Fortunato says, "Oh, you're jesting," right? And he recoils a few paces. But let us proceed to the Amontillado. So he thought it's a joke that he has a trowel under his cape, showing that he is like a Mason, as in Mason work that you do with stones. Ironic, Montessori is called a jest by a jester. Fortunato finally begins to realize that Montessori is playing with him. He also seems to be, this kid is using, what do you call it, slang, because this creeped out is slang and screwing is slang. He also seems to be destabilized because he's been drinking. He's recoiling in surprise when he sees that Montessori is carrying the trowel, right? And even though it answers makes a pun well that, "Oh, you're a Mason because you carry a trowel," it's just like, why are you carrying a trowel? So then he says, "You jest, let us continue on." And he's a little taken aback about it, because why would you have a trowel, right? "Be it so," I said, replacing the tool beneath my cloak and again offering my arm. He leaned upon it heavily, so this shows that he's more inebriated. We continued our route to the search of the Amontillado. We passed through a range of low arches, descended, passed on, and descending again, arrived at a deep crypt in which the foulness of the air caused our flambeau rather to glow than flame. So the torches haven't got enough air, so they're starting to like dim. At the remote, okay, so let me have us have this read to us again just for a moment, because I think it's good to what do you call it, shake it up a little bit. So here it is. I'll just have a little bit of it read to us.
A huge human foot door in a field azure. The foot crushes a serpent rampant, whose fangs are embedded in the heel. And the motto, Nemo me impune lacessit. No one insults me with impunity. Good, he said. The wine sparkled in his eyes, and the bells jingled. My own fancy grew warm with the Medoc. We had passed through walls of piled bones with casks and puncheons intermingling into the inmost recesses of the catacombs. I paused again, and this time I made bold to seize Fortunato by an arm above the elbow. "The mole," I said. "See, it increases. It hangs like moss upon the vaults. We are below the river's bed. The drops of moisture trickle among the bones. Come, we will go back ere it is too late. Your cough, it is nothing," he said. "Let us go on. But first, another draught of the Medoc." I broke and reached him a flagon of de Grave. He emptied it at a breath. His eyes flashed with the fierce light. He laughed and threw the bottle upwards with a gesticulation I did not understand. I looked at him in surprise. He repeated the movement, a grotesque one. "You do not comprehend?" he said. "Not I," I replied. "Then you are not of the Brotherhood." "How? You are not of the Masons?" "Yes, yes," I said. "Yes, yes." "You? Impossible. A Mason?" "A Mason," I replied. "A sign," he said. "It is this," I answered, producing a trowel from beneath the folds of my cloak. "You jest!" he exclaimed, recoiling a few paces. "But let us proceed to the Amontillado." "Be it so," I said, replacing the tool beneath the cloak, and again offering him my arm. He leaned upon it heavily. We continued our route in search of the Amontillado. We passed through a range of low arches, descended, passed on, and ascending again, arrived at a deep crypt in which the foulness of the air caused our torches rather to glow than flame. At the most remote end of the crypt there appeared another, less spacious. Its walls had been lined with human remains, piled to the vault overhead, in the fashion of the great catacombs of Paris. 3 sides of this interior crypt were still ornamented in this manner. From the 4th, the bones had been thrown down and lay promiscuously upon the earth, forming at one point a mound of some size. Within the wall, thus exposed by the displacing of the bones, we perceived a still interior recess, in depth about 4 feet, in width 3, in height 6 or 7. It seemed to have been constructed for no especial use within itself, but formed merely the interval between 2 of the colossal supports of the roof of the catacombs, and was backed by one of their circumscribing walls of solid granite. It was in vain that Fortunato, uplifting his dull torch, endeavored to pry into the depths of the recess. Its termination the feeble light did not enable us to see. "Proceed," I said. "Herein the Amontillado. As for Lucchesi—" "He is an ignoramus," interrupted my friend, as he stepped unsteadily forward, while I followed immediately at his heels. In an instant he had reached the extremity of the niche, and finding his progress arrested by the rock, stood stupidly bewildered. A moment more, and I had fettered him to the granite. In its surface were 2 iron staples, distant from each other about 2 feet horizontally. From one of these depended a short chain, from the other a padlock. Throwing the links about his waist, it was but the work of a few seconds to secure it. He was too much astounded to resist. Withdrawing the key, I stepped back from the recess. "Pass your hand," I said, "over the wall. You cannot help feeling the mold. Indeed, it is very damp. Once more, let me implore you to return." "No? Then I must positively leave you. But I must first render you all the little attentions in my power." "The Amontillado!" shouted my friend, not yet recovered from his astonishment. "True," I replied. "The Amontillado."
All right. So this is a climatic point, because basically what happens is, as they proceed down, they come to what is a dead end. And he describes it like it's a rock tomb. And he actually gave us the dimensions of it. And he says, proceed. And he stepped unsteadily forward. And then once he gets inside, he realizes that he's arrested by rock. In other words, he's inside and there's a dead end. And then before he...
As I said these words, I busied myself.
Sorry. And then he has a short chain and a paddock there, and he actually padlocks the Fortunato to the wall in that recess, right? And then he steps back and he says, "Oh, give me your hand. Let me help you out of there. It's very damp in there. I implore you, come back to me." And then he goes, "No? Well, then I must leave you." So he's padlocked him to the wall and then pretends like he's trying to help him out, and then says, "Oh, you're not coming out? Well, then I have to go," right? And poor Fortunato is still a little intoxicated and just says, "The Amontillado." And he goes, "Oh, yes, the Amontillado," right? And so he's chained him to a dead end deep in the catacombs beneath his house. So I want to do something else here. Um,
Pass your hand over the wall. You cannot help feeling the nitre.
It is indeed very damp. Once more, let me implore you to return. No? Then I must positively leave you.
I must first render you all the little attentions in my power.
Amontillado. True. Amontillado.
So he had the cement all mixed and he's got the rocks down there and he still doesn't know what's going on because he's been drinking so much. And now he's trapped in the back of the catacombs and chained to the wall. And he's just beginning to realize what's going on as the Montessor goes about using the trowel to build a wall to entomb him in the back of the catacombs. This film, by the way, is on, what do you call it? YouTube. So, oops, that's not it.
From one of these depended a short chain, from the other the Amontillado.
Okay, so I have got to again pause you.
Myself among the pile of bones of which I have before spoken. Throwing them aside, I soon uncovered a quantity of building stone and mortar. With these materials, and with the aid of my trowel, I began vigorously to wall up the entrance to the niche. I had scarcely laid the first tier of my masonry when I discovered that the intoxication of Fortunato had in a great measure worn off. The earliest indication I had of this was a low, moaning cry from the depth of the recess. It was not the cry of a drunken man. There was then a long and obstinate silence. I laid the second tier, and the third, and the fourth. And then I heard the furious vibrations of the chain.
Hey.
The noise lasted for several minutes, during which, that I might hearken to it with more satisfaction, I ceased my labors and sat down upon the bones. When at last the clanking subsided, I resumed the trowel and finished without interruption the fifth, the sixth, and the seventh tier. The wall was now nearly upon a level with my breast. I again paused, and holding the torch over the mason work, threw a few feeble rays upon the figure within.
All right, so this is, it shows you when, this was like a night when he said 4 feet, 3 feet, 2 feet, as he was walking, and he thought that he was going into the, he thought that they were heading toward the crematorium, and he saw the pits of fire, and he's saying 4 feet, 3 feet, 2 feet. So it's a way of building suspense. In this case, he's building up the wall, the fifth, the sixth, the seventh tier. So he's making the wall higher, higher, higher. And it says that the inebriation was wearing off. So now he was groaning and then started screaming when he realized what was happening, right? A succession of loud, shrill screams. So I'm going to show you that clip from the movie again, just so you have a feeling for how the suspense built up. Okay, here we go. I'm sorry, it's hard to manipulate this, but it's worth it. Okay, so I'm about to show you the clip from the movie again, if I can find it. I swear to goodness, it's really hard to manipulate this.
Pass your hand over the wall. You cannot help feeling the niter.
So here he goes. He's putting in the 6th, 7th, 8th. Okay, here we go. Now, guys, this would be the climatic point. This would be where if he wanted to, he could save, you know, like at the climax, you could have a happy or a sad ending. And it depends on how you look at it, which is a sad, which is a happy ending. Because if he doesn't help him out, Fortunato's going to die. And then, of course, then the insane narrator's purpose is fulfilled. But if he, if he helps him out, then he doesn't get his revenge as he planned. So depending on how you view it, happy or sad ending. But anyway, so this is the last moment at which the climax could be different. So he can help him and save him. And at one point now he's going to say, there's a famous line in the story where he says, you know, I felt badly. And then what does he feel badly about? And that he would help him out. And then you can see he's screaming, and watch this, he starts mocking him and screaming back at him, which is really scary. It shows he's like got a problem. And now he finishes it. He finishes burying him alive, finishes entombing him in the back of the catacombs.
A very good joke indeed. An excellent jest. We will have many a rich laugh about it at the palazzo. For our wine.
Yes, yes. The Amontillado.
Yes. The Amontillado. But is it not getting late? Will there not be awaiting us at the palazzo, the Lady Fortunato and the rest? Let us be gone.
Yes, let us be gone. For the love of God, Montresor! Yes, for the love of God.
Yeah. Anyway, I really like that movie version came with our textbook. Now I've got to do another manipulation just so we can.
Of loud and shrill screams bursting suddenly from the throat of the chained form seemed to thrust me violently back. For a brief moment I hesitated. I trembled. Unsheathing my rapier, I began to grope with it about the recess, but the thought of an instant reassured me. I placed my hand upon the solid fabric of the catacombs and felt satisfied. I reapproached the wall. I replied to the yells of him who clamored. I re-echoed, I aided, I surpassed them in volume. And in strength, I did this, and the clamorer grew still.
So that's where he's saying when he started screaming in a succession of shrill and loud screams, he did the exact same thing and mimicked him. I re-echoed them, I aided them in volume and strength. So he screamed back at him like he did like that insane screaming match. Okay. And now is where he's going to show that he has a choice. For 1 second, he could just stop and let the guy go, but he doesn't. So this is the climax.
It was now midnight, and my task was drawing to a close. I had completed the 8th, the 9th, and the 10th tier. I had finished a portion of the last and the 11th. There remained but a single stone to be fitted and plastered in. I struggled with its weight. I placed it partially in its destined position, but now there came from out the niche a low laugh that erected the hairs upon my head. It was succeeded by a sad voice, which I had difficulty in recognizing as that of the noble Fortunato. The voice said,
Very good joke indeed. An excellent jest. We shall have many a rich laugh about it at the palazzo. Over our wine.
The Amontillado, I said.
Yes, the Amontillado. But is it not getting late? Will they not be awaiting us at the palazzo? The Lady Fortunato and the rest? Let us be gone.
Yes, I said. Let us be gone.
For the love of God! Montresor! Yes! For the love of God!
But to these words, I hearkened in vain for a reply. I grew impatient. I called aloud.
Fortunato!
No answer. I called again.
Fortunato!
No answer still. I thrust a torch through the remaining aperture and let it fall within. There came forth in return only a jingling of the bells. My heart grew sick.
Now see this is where he could have said, my heart grew sick and I realized what I'd done and I let him go. But no, that's not what it says.
On account of the dampness of the catacombs, I hastened to make an end of my labor. I forced the last stone into its position. I plastered it up. Against the new masonry, I re-erected the old rampart of bones. For the half of a century, no mortal has disturbed them.
For half a century. That means that another 50 years went by and no one ever discovered his crime. So he got away with the crime.
Requiescat in pace.
And it says down below in a footnote, that means rest in peace. So he got away with the perfect crime. I really like that reading was excellent. It got us out of the Cask of the Amontillado. I don't want to hold you any longer because I think this tape is also going to be about half an hour at least. So it took us a couple of hours to get out of this short story, but we did a good job. And I shall see you in a Zoom class.